Hello everybody, my name is Chris Gault. Welcome to my first video that complements my Aging Well or Anti-Aging book, My Journey to the Fountain of Youth, available on Amazon.com. If you want to look and feel as young as possible, this book is for you. Today I will talk about two very important health habits that will go a long way to help you in this journey. Hello everybody, I hope you're all having a great day. I know I am. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Chris. And my full author name is Christopher Welsh Gault, and I'm the author of the book, My Journey to the Fountain of Youth, which is a journey through the internet to look at the best possible solutions on how to look and feel as young as possible. And that's what we're doing today. And there are two things that I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to do videos every week that actually will touch on topics that are in the book. And I am going to talk about two of those today, and actually the two basic ones that are the most important, I feel. And so here we go. So the number one, and I think everybody will pretty much say this and agree with this, is that you need to hydrate. You need to hydrate, you need to drink water. But the problem is that not everyone agrees on how much water you should drink. A very common solution out there, or theory I should say, is 8-ounce glasses of water a day, or 64 ounces. I have a problem with this because I really don't think that the water need for a 250-pound male football player is going to be the same water need for a 90-pound, 13-year-old female gymnast. It's just not going to be the same. So to say that they should have to drink the same amount of water every day doesn't make sense to me. So I like to bring math into it. So if you look at the equation up here, what I like to do is you take the weight of the person and you multiply it by 2/3, and that comes up with how many ounces that you should be drinking a day. And again, this is an average, so if you go up a little bit, down a little bit, that's no big deal, but it's something to shoot for. So as an example, if you take me, I weigh 150 pounds, and you multiply that by the 2/3, you get down to 100 ounces of water a day that I should be drinking. And just to let you know about how much that is, those average bottles of water that you see everyone drinking, that's about 16 ounces of water in each one. So if you do the division, I would need about 6 1/4 of those bottles a day. Now, I also like to try to get 12 ounces of water in for every 30 minutes of exercise. And I typically will exercise anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour every day, probably closer to the hour. So I like to get it around 7 to 8 ounce, 7 or 8 bottles in a day, and that really works for me. So that's what I would say. I think it's a much better solution than just the 8-ounce glasses of water. One other thing that you can do to monitor this to make sure that you are getting enough water in and not too much is, I know this is going to sound a little weird, but you can look at your urine. So when you pee the next time, look at your urine, and if it's pretty much white, or clear I should say, not white, clear, with a very little tiny bit of hue of yellow in it, then you're probably doing a great job of keeping hydrated. If it's yellowish though, you probably need to drink more. And if it's brown, you need to drop everything and start drinking because you're very, very dehydrated. If it's completely clear like water and you don't see any yellow hue, then you're probably overdoing the water just a little bit. I would say probably less than 1% of the people are doing that though, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think more water typically is better than less, but you don't want to overdo it. So hopefully that answers that question. The second thing that's the most important thing is eating healthy. And I know this is not something new either. There's a lot of different things out there now. We don't eat as healthy as we used to. You take a couple centuries ago, we didn't have all this processed food that's out there today. We didn't shoot up our animals with antibiotics because they were stuffed into a little area and they get sick. And I'll go into that in more detail in a minute. So what I would try to do is I would try to eat all organic. So you can go to Whole Foods, you can go to, there's a lot of organic food stores out there. Actually, even regular supermarkets now, or grocery stores, have organic options out there. I would eat as organic as possible. Look at the labels. Don't buy stuff like Fritos and Doritos. If you look at that and you read the ingredients, you're going to read there's going to be chemicals in there. You won't know what they are, and they're probably not going to be good for you. The other thing is you want to drop all processed foods, and that kind of goes in the line of being organic. Just a little known fact, McDonald's French fries has 19 ingredients in it. I mean, think about that, 19 ingredients. And you think about French fries, they probably should have 3. You know, potatoes, salt, and oil. And for some reason, McDonald's has 19. I mean, there are ingredients in there too, because I saw the list. You can't even pronounce some of those ingredients. And I'm just not sure what the long-term effects of some of those things are. But I do know people who eat McDonald's a lot probably aren't in the best health out there. So stay away from fast food, stay away from all that. It's better if you actually cook yourself every once in a while, because when you cook, you actually know what's in the food. That's what's great about cooking. So you can get all the great organic ingredients, cook it yourself. You know there's not a bunch of added junk in there, and your body, after a month or so of doing that, your body is going to feel so good and so energized that you're going to want to be doing it every day. It's just a change in habit, but once you do it, you're going to feel great. You want to stick with lean protein. There are a lot of people keto and stuff. I'm not a big keto fan. They talk about eating bacon. I just can't imagine that. And any doctor would probably tell you that that's not the way to go. So I would stick with lean proteins. When it comes to beef, chicken, turkey, fish. Fish, obviously you can have a little bit of fat in fish, because the fat in a lot of fish is omega-3, which is great. Has omega-3s in it, so it's great for you, antibiotics. But the saturated fat that's in the other animal products are not good. There's also a lot of non-animal protein sources out there that are great, like quinoa. There's soy products. There's tofu. There's just a bunch of other stuff. There's also beans and rice. There's things that you can do to mix. Obviously, if you're a vegetarian, you have to be a little more careful about making sure you got the right mix to make sure you got a complete protein in and get all the essential amino acids in every day. The other things, you want to eat a lot of vegetables, and when you eat vegetables, you don't want to just eat broccoli every day. And I know some people get into that thing, where, okay, I'm going to eat, and I'm just going to eat broccoli every day. But what you got to do is you got to mix it up. You want to have a good mix of color. Look at the colors in your vegetables, and when you look at a salad and it's very colorful, it's not good just because it just looks pretty. It's good because it has all these different nutrients in it. That's what makes the colors in the food, like lycopene and a red pepper. So it's you want to have a lot of different colors in your food, and you want to try to eat as much raw vegetables as you can. It's just going to be a much better way of eating. You're going to get a lot more nutrients that way when you eat them raw instead of cooked. You also want to get some fruits in. What I would recommend on fruits, though, is I like to eat them in the morning because they do digest fast. I like to eat them in the morning, and I don't eat them typically the rest of the day. I typically pick the ones that have great antioxidants and great vitamins and less sugar. I try to get the ones that have less sugar, so I stick with berries like blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and I also like to throw in a banana every day. I know banana has some sugar in there, but it also has some great nutrients and potassium in it, so I like to get that in, and I think that outweighs the little bit of sugar that's in the banana. But again, more vegetables and fruits going to be better for you. Mix up the fruits. Berries are typically better because they have less sugar. You've got to get some carbs in. I know some people say I don't touch any carbs. When they say that, I think what they really mean is don't touch the bad carbs. There is a lot of bad processed carbs out there. Anything with wheat or gluten typically is not great. Cupcakes, obviously, people will talk about pasta, pretzels, all that stuff, not good for you. You want to cut that out. You want to stick with mostly the good carbs like quinoa, rice. Things like that that are gluten free are going to be much better, especially brown rice. Pasta you can have, but there are different, because there are different options now where you can get like lentil pasta or brown rice pasta or quinoa pasta, and those are going to be better options than just your regular bleached flour pastas, which don't give you any benefit at all and just fill you up with junk. So again, like I said, stay away from gluten. Also, I try to limit my dairy. I do get a little bit in, but I try to limit it because dairy is typically not fantastic for you. It can cause inflammation in the body. So I would try to stick with as little dairy as possible. But if you are going to have it, try to get it raw or like a yogurt form. Kefir is good. You know, those typically tend to be better, and not the flavored ones. You want to try to go for the ones that are, you know, non-flavored. They're going to be better. So that's it that I had today. I want to thank you so much. I'm going to put videos out every week, so if you want to subscribe, you can do that. You can purchase the book, but I really wish the very best for you on your journeys to look and feel as young as you possibly can, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.